Okay, I will repeat again about some wants to repeat me these things. Okay, now we are looking for the clinical features of cirrhosis. Here there is vague upper abdominal pain, right sided pain. Then this there is fever. If it is there is inflammation, there is fever, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, anorexia, and malaise feeling. Now, as a complications of cirrhosis, so we are discussing the complications of chronic liver diseases, that is ascites. There may be edema, upper GI tract hemorrhages. Okay. Now, this the cause of ascites and edema. These we are discussing now. So, what happens in the hepatic cirrhosis? There are two defects. Mainly, there are two defects. The first is defective albumin synthesis, and second is intrahepatic vascular obstruction. Defective albumin synthesis, and second there is intrahepatic vascular obstruction. Now, this defective albumin synthesis causes low plasma albumin, and this low plasma albumin causes the decrease in the osmotic pressure, plasma osmotic pressure. And on the other hand, this intrahepatic vascular obstruction causes increased portal venous pressure. Now, this increased portal venous pressure, it again causes the two things, that is, there is hepatic venous outflow block. There is hepatic venous outflow block, and second thing is there is increased hepatic lymph. Increased hepatic lymph due to increased portal venous pressure. There is increased hepatic lymph and hepatic venous outflow block. Okay, this hepatic venous outflow block again causes intrahepatic vascular obstruction. Okay, so this both things, that is low plasma osmotic pressure plus this increased portal venous pressure, this both causes ascites. Okay, ascites is fluid get accumulated in the peritoneum. So this or in the abdomen. Now this fluid get accumulated in the abdomen due to low plasma osmotic pressure and increased portal venous pressure. Both of these things causes ascites. Now whenever this fluid get accumulated in the abdomen, there is body fluid depletion occurs. The fluid become less in the vessels. So it get ultimately it acts in the renal tubules. The fluid in the renal tubules also become less. So this that is proximal and distal renal tubules. Now there is due to this less water content in the vessels, it will gives rise to sodium and water ion retention due to renin-angiotensin mechanism get activated. Due to this less hypovolemia in the renal tubules causes activation of renin-angiotensin mechanism, and there is reabsorption of sodium and water ions. Again, this reabsorption of sodium and water ion increases the ascites. So there is vicious cycle of this ascites. This gives rise to edema and ascites. And the cause of this edema and ascites is, yes, yes. What are the causes of this ascites?
Hepatic vascular increase portal venous pressure and decrease plasma osmotic pressure.
Yes, yes. Yeah, this both things. There is low plasma osmotic pressure and increased portal venous pressure causes ascites. Now, this ascites causes depletion in the body fluid. There will be hypovolemia at the renal tubules. It is proximal and distal renal tubules. There is activation of renin-angiotensin mechanism, and that will gives rise to retention of sodium and water ions due to, yes, what is the reason of this retention? What is the cause of this retention? Yes, Pranjali, you want to ask some question? Yes, usually.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Okay, okay. So this retention will again increases the fluid content in the abdomen, that is ascites. It will again causes ascites. Ascites causes depletion. Depletion causes activation of renin-angiotensin mechanism. There is retention of sodium and water, and again this causes increases the ascites. Okay. So this is the pathogenesis of this ascites. Okay. So ascites, edema, upper GI tract hemorrhages. Now, the cause of upper GI tract hemorrhages are the formation of varices, esophageal and gastric varices. Okay. So what is the varices? That is the vessel wall, it become edematous, it become fibrosed, it become delicate. So whenever the pressure increases in the upper GI tract, there will be breakage of these vessels, arteries, and it causes upper GI tract hemorrhages. It is a very very serious complication of cirrhosis. So the bleeding, because of bleeding, the patient goes in shock. Okay. So these are the complications of this cirrhosis. Okay. Now, what are the risk factors of cirrhosis? Very, very important risk factors for alcoholic cirrhosis. Now, the first risk factor is drinking pattern of the patient. The patient drinks alcohol, but which type of alcohol he drinks, that matters a lot. So daily intake of that patients are 60 to 80 gram of alcohol. Daily intake causes this alcoholic liver disease. Okay, daily intake of 60 to 80 grams of alcohol. Now, my dear students, do you know the alcohol percentage in various alcoholic drinks? Yes, that should also you know. What are the contents of alcohol? Contents of beer, then wine, brandy and whiskey. What are the contents of alcohol? So on that percentage you can rule out that which drinks they are harmful, which drinks they are not much harmful. So beer contains 4 to 6% of alcohol. The wine contains 10 to 12 percentage of alcohol, and brandy and whiskey they contains 40 to 50% of alcohol. So this drinking pattern is a very very important risk factor for alcoholic liver disease, that is cirrhosis. Okay. So if drinking pattern is like brandy and whiskey, the patient surely go or landed into this cirrhosis, cirrhotic changes or fatty liver. Okay. Then the gender. Okay. The gender is also important, male or female. Then the malnutrition, we just discussed what happens with malnutrition, that is due to lack of these lipotrophic factors. Then infections, various infections causes this cirrhotic livers. Then genetic factor and hepatitis B and C infections. Okay. So all these are the risk factors for this cirrhosis of liver, that is alcoholic cirrhosis. Okay. Any query related to this part?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. So the next type of cirrhosis that we are going to discuss next is viral infections and cirrhosis. That is about infective, etiology of this is infective hepatitis, viral infections and cirrhosis. So by pathologically, in the viral infections, grossly the liver is small, it is atrophic. Also it is called as atrophic cirrhosis. Okay. So this but the size of liver, it decreases in the latter stage of the disease. Okay. Previously the size of the liver is normal, but later on that size get decreases, the liver become atrophied. What is the cause of this atrophy? Because of damage of the hepatocytes. Okay, there is shrinkage of the liver, there is damage of hepatocytes, and this damage is mainly toxic and anoxic damage. Okay. Sometimes it may be larger than normal due to fatty changes. The weight of liver is half than normal. The color of the liver in infective hepatitis, that is due to viral infections, the color of the liver become golden yellow or light brown. The surface of the liver, it become nodular, and consistency of the liver, it is firm due to presence of fibrous tissue. Just we discussed that there is formation of collagen and matrix between the hepatocytes. Okay, in the connective tissues, this matrix it is increases due to this acetaldehyde adducts, acetaldehyde protein molecules. They causes trafficking of this protein molecules. Okay, so these adducts, they causes increase in the collagen and this matrix in the connective tissues of the liver. Okay, so the viral infection and cirrhosis. Here the nodules, they are usually 2 centimeter or less than 2 centimeter in diameter. And in post necrotic type, the nodules, they are bigger, that is 2.5 to 5 centimeter in diameter. Okay, so I think we will discuss this part tomorrow about this viral infections and cirrhosis, and then we will complete the other part, that is post hepatic cirrhosis, post necrotic cirrhosis. Okay, this part we will going to finish tomorrow. Okay, so I'm
Okay, ma'am.
going to close this meeting for today. Tomorrow again at the same time.
Okay.
Any queries related to this part?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Okay.
No, ma'am.